What is going on, guys? What is going on, 27 Squad? Welcome back into another video, and the moment that you all have been waiting for, the New York Giants 2024 mock draft is here. Alright, without further ado, let's get started. Let's start with the first round, 6th overall. I have the New York Giants selecting Jayden Daniels, the quarterback out of LSU, 6'4", 210 pounds. And look, I know there are a lot of people that are going to say Jayden Daniels will not be available by the 6th pick, but now we are hearing a lot of doubt that New England may not even go quarterback in the first round because of obviously having a new head coach there, wanting to go best player available and kind of fill out the roster because that roster is in shambles right now. And, you know, it may be best to fill out the roster instead of drafting a new franchise quarterback right away. But, however, that's all about draft philosophy. We're just going to stick with the possibility that Jayden Daniels will be available and the Giants get to fill out their need at quarterback here. And I think it's time, guys. I think it's time to start thinking about the future with a different franchise quarterback. The Giants made a mistake of paying all that money to Daniel Jones. In my humble opinion, I wanted him to come back, but I didn't want him for that much money, and that's what happened. Now, one of the reasons why I particularly like Jayden Daniels is his mobility factor. I mean, this guy can really change the game with his legs like a Lamar Jackson would. I mean, it's just dynamic. He makes defenders fall to the ground. He's very quick in changing direction, extremely fast when he bursts up the middle. I mean, it's definitely a huge factor to his game, and I think it's going to play a big factor in the NFL as well. One of the reasons why I really like Jayden Daniels as well is that if the Giants do decide to get another quarterback in the draft, it's not like they're going to have to kind of deal with a sacrifice of not having any mobile factor to a quarterback. Like, say if we draft a Caleb Williams, yes, he's far better quarterback than Daniel Jones, but he's not as mobile as Daniel Jones, in my opinion. If you draft Jayden Daniels, you're not losing that factor. You can still have those plays in there that you had for Daniel Jones and implement them with Jayden Daniels. Now, Daniels has a strong arm, decent accuracy, good mobility, and goes through his progressions. However, all three of those things can be inconsistent at times. This is why he is still developing. He has a really high ceiling. He is nowhere where he is supposed to be yet. I really think if Brian Daboll were to get hands on him and really kind of grind out those inconsistencies and kind of clean those things up, I think Jayden Daniels has a real bright future if he's able to clean those things up with the help of Brian Daboll. This guy won the Heisman Trophy, the Davey O'Brien Award, the Johnny Unitas Golden Arm Award, and the Walter Camp Award in the same year. He's come a long way in his time in Arizona State. He's a totally different quarterback, and that shows that he's able to learn. He's able to become a better quarterback. He's not just it is what it is with him. He can definitely learn and get better. That's why I feel like his ceiling is so high, and he will be a great fit with the New York Giants. Now, with the first second round pick that the New York Giants have, 39th overall, I have the New York Giants selecting Darius Robinson, the edge defender out of Missouri. He's a player that was low on a lot of people's mock drafts and big boards until the Senior Bowl came out, where he was absolutely dominating everybody in one-on-ones. And if you look at his size, his speed, his ability, his strength, I mean, there's no doubt in my mind he is rising on big boards, especially after the Senior Bowl. People are able to realize what he's been doing. But if you just watch his film, I'm surprised a lot of people weren't higher on him, than before the Senior Bowl. He finished the season with a whopping total of 13 sacks, and if you look up his true pass rush win rate on one-on-one situations, it is a whopping 27.6%, so that helps out his Senior Bowl performance. That is just not, something that's random, that he had a random good Senior Bowl. It shows on the field as well. Now, you guys saw his length, 6'5", 286. He is an absolute monster and plays extremely well, moves extremely well, has a good set of pass rush moves, and it plays absolutely relentless. If you guys just watch his film, I'm showing it right now. You guys are just seeing how relentless he is and how much he really wants to get to the ball carrier. That is the type of player I want on this team. Someone that's going to be absolutely relentless. Doesn't matter if you're successful all the time. If you just keep playing like angry, keep playing mad, you're gonna win a lot of the times. And Darius Robinson is one of those. Hopefully he doesn't jump into the first round. I'm seeing a lot of people have him creeping up into the first round. I think he should stay right near the 39th pick so the Giants can pick him up. But man, he would be a slam dunk pick next to Kayvon Thibodeaux. With our second round pick, 47th overall, I had the New York Giants selecting Christian Haynes, another Senior Bowl prospect out of UConn. Now, he's another guy that had his draft stock raised with the Senior Bowl and looked extremely well. Now, it's hard to find film on him for whatever reason. Nobody ever records UConn offensive line film, so it is hard to find it, but I checked him out on the Senior Bowl one-on-ones. I watched a couple of games from him. I think one game from this year and a couple from last year, but either way, I really like his game. I think he's very athletic for a guard, very attentive. His reaction time is very good, and I think he's very good in passing downs. He plays extremely strong, has a good anchor. But listen, we just have to find some talent on the interior. I mean, no joke about it, man. I mean, I don't know where else the Giants can go. I think the next best guard is like Chris Mahogany, and he's projected second or third round. Christian Haynes is probably the best guard you're going to grab up in the second round, and 47th overall is still pretty high, so hopefully he's available around that time. But the Giants need to figure something out with the interior on the offensive line. I know obviously tackle with Evan Neal is a problem, but just looking at where we're at with tackle in the second round and what we could possibly get with Christian Haynes in the second round at guard, I think I'd rather go Christian Haynes and try to figure something out with tackle later on in the draft or even free agency. Obviously this is before free agency, so we don't have nearly as many answers as we want to yet, but Christian Haynes is a prospect I am slowly falling in love with in the second round, and hoping the Giants get a chance to pick him up. Next up in the third round, 70th overall, I had the New York Giants selecting Johnny Wilson, the wide receiver out of Florida State. Wow. The fact that he is in the third round for the taking, that's where he's projected, is unreal. I can understand why he is. I know the NFL is leaning towards those more smaller wide receivers that can run the crispy routes and things like that. He is not that whatsoever. A little bit of an old school guy, but get this, man. He is 6'6", 237 pounds. The Giants have been looking for a tall wide receiver on the outside for a long time, man. And I'm talking about a long time. I'm talking about since Plaxico Burress. They've experimented with a couple of guys, Brennan Marshall. They've experimented with Kenny Galladay. They've even tried to get some lesser talent to try to raise up, like Colin Johnson, who is another like 6'6" receiver, tall guy who can't stay healthy, but was a good player. Definitely uses his size as an advantage, as a perk to his game. He's the player that the Giants could throw in on the red zone and kind of throw it up to and see what happens. And with the Giants having a bad red zone productivity last year, he can definitely help that out a bit. Now, Wilson isn't very explosive. He is a huge wide receiver. He does move well for his size, but his routes aren't the crispiest. He's not like extremely fast off the line. He is pretty good on his feet, where he's nimble enough to move around, but he's not exactly like as unathletic, I would say, for lack of a better word, than like a tight end. But he definitely isn't like the twitchiest wide receiver you've ever seen, but has a great catch radius. Like I said, has a great catch radius, catches those 50-50 balls, and I think would be a great target for the Giants and kind of have a little bit of variety there, man. We have a lot of smaller guys. Darius Slayton still on the outside, but having Wan'Dale Robinson there, Jalen Hyatt, these guys are kind of smaller, a little bit smaller in stature as well, like in size. Johnny Wilson just switches things up a bit. Next up in the fourth round, the 108th pick, I had the Giants selecting Justin Oboigbe. I hope I'm saying that right. The defensive lineman out of Alabama, 6'4", 292, and this guy's an absolute tank, man. For 292, this guy moves extremely well. He's someone you could play all over the interior of the offensive line as like a pass rushing defensive tackle. The Giants have a lot of run stuffers in there. You look at obviously Dexter Lawrence, who's a big nose tackle. You've got Nacho in there. You got Ashawn Robinson. These guys are bigger defensive tackles that can plug the gaps. But if we want to help Dexter Lawrence out on that interior a bit and add some pass rush talent on the interior defensive line, Justin Oboigbe is the best way to go in the fourth round. He's extremely explosive, disruptive, and has a good set of pass rush moves on the inside as well. Not the best against the run, I will say, and that is not his forte, and that is not what the Giants would be drafting him for, as we have enough run stuffers there that can help us out a bit. But to help that pass rush a little bit, the Giants have been one of the worst pass rushing units in the NFL for quite a while as far as pass rush win rate on the edge and on the interior. Dexter Lawrence has been kind of Mr. Do-It-All on the defensive line. Justinianogiovanni can help us out a lot more. He had 7 sacks last year on the interior for the Crimson Tide, and his name is not nearly as mentioned as a lot of these other names for the Alabama Crimson Tide. You know, you had Will Anderson there last year, and then this year you have Dallas Turner, you have Chris Braswell, who's a projected second-round pick, and so there's a lot of different guys in that mix there. And Justinianogiovanni's name is kind of brought down a bit, but man, this guy is still a really good player, projected in the 4th round, and I think would be a slam dunk pick for the Giants. The 5th round, 140th overall, I have the Giants selecting Andrew Phillips, slot cornerback out of Kentucky, 5'10", 191 pounds. If you could kind of get my drift over here, this video was supposed to come out during the right after the Senior Bowl. So a lot of these guys are from the Senior Bowl and guys that have played well in the Senior Bowl, and some guys that I've noticed from the Senior Bowl. So Andrew Phillips, listen, the Giants have a real need there at slot cornerback. They can figure out outside corner later. You know, they still have Adoree Jackson there. They have Deonte Banks, who is coming into his own as that #1 corner for the Giants, but slot corner has been an issue. I know we want to love Cordell Flott, but let's just be honest, he's been a liability there, you know, at slot corner. And listen, he still could be the slot corner for the Giants, but we need somebody to back him up. Darnay Holmes, I don't imagine the Giants are going to bring him back, and so we need some depth there. And in the 5th round, you can't go wrong. Go ahead and address slot corner. This guy is extremely twitchy, extremely fast, very aggressive for his size. I mean, he's almost like a little bit of a Mighty Mouse sort of player. Very small, but very reactive and very twitchy, quick on his feet. His break on the ball is really good. He played a lot of like soft zone, like, you know, with a lot of cushion there at Kentucky, and breaks on the ball extremely well. Plays the ball pretty well when it's targeted to the receiver, and sticks to the receiver pretty well in man as so I could see why he is a projected 5th round pick. He's very small and may get picked on a lot in the NFL, but I think the Giants could give him a shot there to compete for that slot corner role. And with the last pick the Giants have in the 6th round, 185th overall, I have the Giants selecting Jeremy Flax, the offensive tackle out of Kentucky, 6'5", 325 pounds. Listen, I'm just trying to get a sleeper. I'm just trying to find a sleeper in the later rounds. Yes, I'm doing my film, but it's not like these guys are projected to be starters in any way. But he had a lot of playing time in college, and in this past year, on over almost 600 snaps, he had just like, I think, 2 sacks given up, 8 quarterback hurries, and 2 quarterback hits. Listen, I know he's a projected 6th round, 7th round guy, but that's not too bad for a guy that's projected in the 6th, 7th round. I'm looking for sleepers. I'm looking for guys that can, you know, have good backup roles and things like that. I think Jeremy Flax can do that. He is pretty decent in pass protection and has a bit of agility to him, man. I want to see guys that are just athletes in those later rounds. I want to see guys that can move really well, and Jeremy Flax can move pretty well, fights with his hands pretty well. So I want to see stuff like that in the later rounds, and I chose Jeremy Flax out of Kentucky. He's another guy out of Kentucky, so 2 guys back-to-back out of Kentucky, but that is the last pick that I have the Giants taking, just to add some offensive tackle depth. Now, I think the Giants will address offensive tackle in free agency. I couldn't really find a good place to draft a tackle that's really going to compete with Evan Neal, and so it doesn't look like we wasted a pick. I don't want to just draft a tackle because we don't like Evan Neal. When we draft a tackle, we have to make sure like he is going to compete with Evan Neal and like be better than him. I just didn't find a good place for that, rather than a lot of these other prospects that I had us drafting. So that is my New York Giants mock draft. I try to address as much positions as we can. I know you can probably double dip with some positions like offensive line. You could probably double dip with wide receiver if you really wanted to. I know the Giants probably need a safety. We don't know what's going on with Xavier McKinney. Maybe even get more corners in there. But I try to address a different variety of positions. And hopefully you guys enjoyed it. If you guys did, make sure you guys hit that like button. Subscribe if you guys are new. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Woo!